Many blessings to all of you out there. As many of you probably know, we've been in the fires of Ventura. So we're in Ojai. A lot of our friends have been going through so much, including Veronica. She had to flee the fires on Tuesday. And I've kind of had a different experience than most of our community. I was actually out of town while it was happening, so I was coming home to come back to Ojai and be with my beloved, and I don't have a home to go back to yet. But besides all of that, so many of us are going through so much, and so many amazing people there are also sharing the little mini miracles that are going on since the fires have happened. And one of the things that I experienced was I was going to bed one of the evenings this week, and the fires were south of us and they were coming in towards the city and towards our house. And we didn't know, they were expecting between 70 and 90 mile an hour winds that night that was almost assuredly going to push into the city and burn down the city. And that would have taken our houses as well. And I was sitting there, worried about our house and worried about everybody else's houses, but really more about the city and the community, because if the community burns down, is there really any place to go back to Ojai if you just have a house and there's no community? And right before I'm going to bed that evening, the day before I'm coming home, I see that the fires are now not just south of us, but then also they leapt over and a couple miles and then were north of us. So it was like the whole city was pushing in. From the side to both sides, fires were pushing in on the city. And I was just feeling just a bit of deflation, a bit of sadness, because just feeling this loss of our town and this all of the people who were going to lose not just their homes, but the community that's meant so much to us for so long. And instead of dwelling on that, I just really remembered to put prayer into action and put mantra into action. So I went to bed just doing mantras and prayers for the community, for the community to be supported and held and protected by these fires. And I know there were so many of you out there putting in prayers, doing mantras, doing whatever you do to really hold the loving space for a miracle to happen. And I really still went to bed thinking, we're probably not going to have a town the next morning. And what happened is I woke up and I saw that the town was still intact and still being held. And actually the shift was happening where they were beating the fires down, and we were actually having a greater and greater chance, where the night before we were going to have, it seemed like there was no hope. And it just brings back this truth that if you really put out not just positive intentions, but prayers and mantras towards something, towards anything, towards a positive effect, towards service, it actually builds a greater and greater possibility of it happening. It reminds me of one of my teachers along my path shared a story that a hospital did a study. They put 10,000 patients' documents, their documents of the surgeries they had already had done, 10,000 of them. They put 5,000 in one pile, 5,000 in the other. And one pile of 5,000, and these were already patients that had already had their surgeries. They prayed over 5,000 for positive results, health and happiness and a long life, and then the others they just left alone. And then they went back and then they studied the results after they did these prayers for I don't know how many weeks, I believe it was for 6 weeks. And so after the 6 weeks, then they studied the documents of the people who had the prayers done over them in comparison to the ones that didn't. And 3 times the amount of the people in the pile of the patients who were prayed over after the fact actually had 3 times the amount of positive effects. So think about that. Prayer is powerful, and it actually transcends and expands out beyond this time and space, this quantum time and space. It's actually reaching a place beyond time and space, can reach out into the future, into the past, and shift and transform things. So for all of you who've been praying for Ojai, continue that. Continue these prayers of intentions of, may all of the people who are in this town, in this community, in Ventura, and all of wherever the fires are, that they are taken care of, they're held, they're loved, they're fed, they're clothed, the insurance companies pay for their homes. Everything works out perfectly. We ask for you to continue because your blessings, your prayers, your mantras are supporting us in the past as you go forward. Does that make sense? But you know what I mean. If you pray now, it's actually affecting us forward and back. And on another note, not just for these fires, but for you, for your friends, for your family. What's a prayer that you can put in for all of those loved ones around you? What do they need right now? Maybe a little bit more acceptance of love, or more receptivity, or maybe you're working on something within yourself and you could ask a friend to hold a prayer for you for the next month or the next 3 months. So if you have somebody making a prayer or an intention or a mantra for you and they're doing it, they're actually outside of the field of attachment of it having to happen. So when you're outside of that field of attachment and they're making a prayer for you, or you're doing it for another friend or a family member, it actually increases the probability that it'll actually come into fruition. So I just invite you, if there's something out there that you really are ready to declare, invite a friend to support you. Call on them to, it's like two coming together with the same intention, and it increases exponentially the possibility that it comes true. Blessings to you.